Hey baby, I couldn't stop working. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was coming, going, buying coffee, ice cream, didn't know what order or which I wanted. So at the end I had a coffee, ice cream, and a cup of coffee, of course. I haven't got that much money. Fuck it. I got the brown bedspread again. I was reminded, did I ever tell you how I painted my room when I was a kid and we lived in this ridiculous house called Mount Flirt? It was an old farmhouse in Shropshire. About 2 miles out of Ludlow on the road towards Clee Hill. You can look it up on a map. It's usually on the Ordnance Survey maps. It's marked Mount Flirt. And there was a kind of barn-like place. And to me it looked, in winter, some uncannily like, although it's not, uncannily like the barn on David Gilmour's solo album cover. When I saw that picture, I was just so strongly reminded it's I don't know why I credit her with it. Helen Brimacombe's theorem of geography. You just have the abstract, enough of the abstract stuff fits the data that the place clicks and it's the other place. And that was the witchcraft I was trying to explain when I met Yoko Ono in Tapachula. Anyway, in that house, it was we were promised a lot of things if we went to England. I said to my, can we have a go-kart racing track? Can we have guns? Yes, we can have all these things. Great, we can go to England and that's cool. And then we showed up in England and the stuff didn't really quite work properly. You know, there wasn't land for a go-kart, so we made a go-kart. The first house we stayed in was in Adferton, which is about 2 miles out of Wigmore, on the road towards Lentredine. You can look that up on it. And Jeremy Rose lived on the corner, and we lived in this place called Christmas Tree Cottage, I think, or Rose Tree Cottage. It was an old, I guess Elizabethan half-timbered house. It was really amazing. It had huge oak beams, the floors, and everything was squiff because the house had sort of settled down. It was about 200 years old. And across the lane that we lived up, which was practically a dirt road, I think, at that point, I'm not sure whether it was tarmacked or not, there was a patch of open, unused lot that had some. It had been leveled out at some point to build a house, and it had some junk on it. Somebody was planning to do something and didn't have the capital to finish. And Chrissy lived next door, and it was Chrissy who it was from Chrissy. It was Chrissy's copy of Bridge Over Troubled Water that I recorded, because I had a cassette recorder. That was one of the presents that we got. Maybe that was one of the bribes. So I used to make radio programs with my friends and things, and we'd pirate music and read we'd read commercials. And I found out if you went to what's the name of the Japanese hi-fi? JDK? Japanese hi. They were really good about their product brochures. And you could actually just write to them for brochures and they would send you a whack of them. Or no, what we used to do was go to the record shop and pick them up because they were free. And me and my friend, who was Chrissy's nephew, He came to visit once, and it was from his mum that I recorded Saturday Night Fever. So we used to, he had a cassette recorder too, you see. So as soon as that happened, the storm gates opened, because we figured out how you could wire one cassette recorder into another and record cassette to cassette, and it was almost the same. But cassettes were pretty valuable, you know. C120 was and you could get like 3 albums on that. So my music collection exploded at that point, because before that all I had was Jean-Michel Jarre Oxygen, and a tape that my grandmother had given me. That was the first music tape that I ever had, and that was Peer Gynt's. That was the Peer Gynt suite by, I've forgotten his name. Oh dear. Aurora's never going to forgive me. So I had that, and I also had an alarm, a timer switch, which you could time anything. You could time a lamp or something, and all it was a kind of 24-hour rotation. You set the time right, and it ticked around in 24 hours, and then when it got to a peg, it could turn on or off, and you just put some pegs in, and you could get something to come on at various times of the day. So if I had my alarm clock, I would put the Peer Gynt suite, and the first track on it was Morgan, the morning time, and that was my alarm. That you could, it was never much more than plus or minus 10 minutes accurate. But that's how I used to wake up when I had to wake up. That was really good. Did all sorts of things with those cassette recorders. We pirated music, we pirate radio, made an alarm clock. And Chrissy kept goats. She had 2 or 3 goats. She was lovely. Big blonde lady. Her husband was a bit dour. Maybe he drank a bit, I don't know. But her goats used to always eat the washing off the washing line and stuff. They were a bit of a nuisance, those goats. But they were fun, they played. You could kind of grab their horns and have pushing matches with them, and they usually won. And we had an air rifle. We had a BSA .22 caliber air rifle. And I was talking crap when I talked about that gun. That gun at Salvador's was a BB gun. It wasn't .22. Maybe the fact that it was .22 meant it wasn't so lethal. And also the spring. I think BB pellets probably fly faster. I think BB pellets used to be brass balls, didn't they? But you could also get BB gauge lead pellets. So we used to clack away with these guns across the road in that bit of building patch. And then I met Jeremy Rose, and his dad was rich, and his dad worked for John Bufton, JCB. They had a plant in Ludlow. But I didn't meet Jeremy for a long time because his dad because they lived in Adverton, and his dad drove to work every morning. His dad took him to Ludlow School every morning to school. And I only met him when I moved to Ludlow School and started commuting every morning with the French teacher. It was weird how all that worked out. Because I was commuting back to Wigmore because we didn't want to change schools. I mean, how fucking stupid, crazy shit. Anyway, so sometimes Jeremy used to come up to Mount Flirt with his gun, and his gun was much more powerful than ours. And we used to shoot cow pats and spray their cow shit at each other and stuff. Anyway, I was telling you what colour I painted the room. I painted it brown, 3 walls of it, a kind of chocolate brown, and one wall a kind of orange, kind of reddy, brightish reddy orange. It was disgusting. But in the corner of this room was a, I don't know what we called it. There was an ingle nook in the house in Mount Flirt, which was also a couple of 100 years old. There was an ingle nook fireplace, which was a great big fireplace, and inside it, I think they restored it. It was a brick. It had a bread oven and things, and above the bread oven there was a real mess inside the house. And that actually went up into my room. So from my room I could actually climb down into the bread oven in the lounge downstairs. Really weird shit. And I used to spend quite a lot of time in above the bread oven, building robots to kill my parents. And that's when I got into electronics. And that's when this voice in my head said, make a bomb, make a bomb, make a bomb. And I was a disturbed kid. I was angry. I was angry that I couldn't do anything. And I discovered how powerful money was when I went to strawberry picking job. And you had to pick strawberries for hours and hours and hours, and you got paid by the punnet. And the first time I had enough money to buy electronic shit, to do electronics, I went crazy. I had like £20 or something that I earned picking strawberries, and I somehow got to Birmingham or somewhere, because there were no shops that sold electronic components in Ludlow. You had to either go to Shrewsbury or Birmingham or Hereford. And so I made things like robots. We had one of these stupid toy shocking devices, which was a pack of girly cards with a scantily clad girl on. That's what it looked like. It had a card stuck on the top, and you would hand it to someone and they would pull these 2 brass buttons to open it, and they'd get a few hundred volts AC through their fingers, and it was quite painful. So I rigged this thing up independently with 2 shocking probes, and I put motors underneath, and one day my parents were talking to somebody in the lounge, and I was sulking and fucking angry, and I arranged this thing, and I pointed my robot at the door, and it crawled into the lounge. I didn't manage to kill anyone. Ronnie Rocket. Ronnie Rocket 0.1 alpha version. Oh my god. You're a fucked up kid. I think that's enough of this installment. I'm going to try and go to sleep or something. I haven't had a siesta since I was in Tapachula. I lost the art of siestaing. I hope you're having a good time. Linda Faludi posted something that seemed to be a very piece of fishing which John Brown himself would have been proud of. She just whipped a little dry fly right in front of me, and I took it and woof, gone. Now she's playing that fucker. I hope. Play it, land it, baby. Get your landing net out. Don't worry if your boots get full of water. That fucker is a big, big, big fish. Elizabeth will help you land him. Good afternoon.